Asonde, asonde, yinyana bode. For aha, I TV. Like, comment, na share my videos ni efama. Esan say one ka someone need to say akosia, me chance say dia na ensem ahodo ena me di bi ebebon metiefo. Na ene da ide audio bi a bofom say na one time asase wo so. Eno ena adropia mempese me nkwa meti akosia me de bi ebedomo na wonso wahu ensem a ekoso ewo man Ghana ha na mese otwe ya dinche bia wo fa video yi ewo comment section ni so ede amai obi a wamia adoma no so se me upload new videos bia na obeya notification ewo phone so na wonso wa head ye ekoso ewo man Ghana yanko ji ensem no enchemu and audio be a drop ni bi.
It is in the works agreement that the government decided to build the 5,000 units in 4 phases. Okay. The consultant for the project was AESL on agreement. Okay, this is also very interesting. That's what the NDC is saying through Sammy Jenfi. Now, this is interesting because he says that the agreement was for 5,000 houses. ET Mensa and the contractors decided that they would do it in 4 phases, and that the consultant for the project was a government consultant, and that Parliament had approved the agreement. So we will assume that 5,000 houses for 200 million. This is the NDC statement. 5,000 houses for 200 million. Okay, let's move on. And therefore, the works agreement, which was an issue of implementation by the ministry, was not required to be approved by Parliament. Okay, great. So Sammy Jenfi is building a point that 200 million for 5,000 houses. A works agreement was agreed between ET Mensa and the consultants. That works agreement need not go to Parliament. It need not. I'm not sure what is the difference between a works agreement and produce 5,000 houses, because the obligation which you will see of the government was that Parliament gave to the government was, we are going to approve 200 million for you. You are going to build us 5,000 houses. Yes, you can decide to do that in phases, but that should not change the figure unless Parliament is part of the change. I think we can understand that. We have approved 200 million for you. You build 5,000 houses. You can do it however you want. Many phases, other phases, 3 phases, 10 phases, 4 phases. But you have 200 million to build 5,000. Okay, that doesn't come clear here from Sammy Jenfi's statement at this stage. He says that the works agreement was not an issue of implementation by the ministry, and it did not require Parliament's approval, which will be deciding to do it in phases. I think that's what he's saying. If you decide to do it in phases, you don't need to go back to Parliament. Somehow we can agree with that. Okay, let's move on. Under the works agreement, government was supposed to provide a service plot of land with roads, water, electricity, drains, sewage systems, and other ancillary facilities for the smooth takeoff of the project. Okay. The cost of which had not been factored into the amount of $200 million approved by Parliament for the project, since the government did not have any funds to fall onto to discharge these responsibilities. Voila! Here is the filling of the lacuna. Let's start. Very interesting. He says under the agreement, the government was supposed to provide service plot, which makes a lot of sense. Service plot of land with roads. Government is supposed to provide roads, water, electricity, drains, sewage system, and other ancillary facilities for the smooth takeoff of the project. However, the cost of these things had not been factored into the amount of $200 million. So when Parliament approved $200 million, Sammy Jenfi wants us to believe that the $200 million was excluding the ancillary facilities that needed the project to work. That is roads, sewage system, etc. Service plot, generally a service plot, a plot that has water connection, has electricity connection, that all of that was not part of the 200 million. Government was supposed to provide that. He says also that government did not have money to fall on to make these commitments. He says, let me take it from here. It says the cost of which had not been factored into the amount of 200 million approved by Parliament for the project, since the government did not have any funds to fall onto to discharge these responsibilities. He said the government didn't have any funds to fall onto to discharge the responsibilities. Therefore, the decision was taken by the ministry to use part of the approved amount of the project, 200 million, for all the necessary ancillary works to pave way for the construction of the housing units and to make the project site a commercially viable and habitable community. There we go. So the Attorney General is prosecuting that 200 million was approved for the entire project. The NDC says 200 million was approved for the project itself. That 200 million did not include all the ancillary things that government as a partner to the project had to do. The project is being done, the loan is being taken, project is being done by a contractor, government is his partner. Government provide me the land, I'll build the houses. Sammy Jemfi says to provide the land in a service plus, it excluded 200 million. Government didn't have money to do all of those ancillary works, sewage and all that. So government had to take from the 200 million for that purpose. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. It says, this is what informed the decision by the ministry to do the project in phases, as the Honorable E.T. Mensah had already intimated to Parliament. Clearly, the 5,000 houses could not be built at a go. Yes, that's true. Also, the initial drawings presented to the Ministry of Works and Housing by the developer was based on a Brazilian building code, and it wasn't fit for the Ghana setting. Yes, so you have seen it. The original drawings was from Brazil. It was somehow not fit for the Ghana setting. All the Ghanaians around the table, including E.T. Mensah, who is here in the studio tonight, found out after Parliament had done the approval that the original drawings you had brought was not fit for Ghanaian setting. They all found out later. 275 members of Parliament, the parliamentary committee, they considered a loan for 200 million, a loan for a housing project. They didn't ask for the drawings, or they asked for it, they saw it, they didn't notice that it was Brazilian setting. Sammy Jemfi doesn't tell us how we came to that realization, because maybe he should have added how we came to that realization, that in the course of a meeting, one very clever consultant said, hey, wait a minute, this is fit for Brazil, it's not fit for Ghana. He didn't tell us all of that. Now, this is where we are. Okay, so let's summarize what Sammy Jemfi is saying. So he's saying that 5,000 units approved for 200 million. Government found out that they didn't have money to do the ancillary work, the plot, sewage system, etc., etc. So they took money from within the 200. That means that 200 will no longer be for 5,000. Maybe at that stage, Parliament should come in. At the stage where you realize that the 200 million Parliament approved will be insufficient for the 5,200 to do something, maybe, I'm not a judge, I don't know, but maybe for the sacrosanctness of Article 1812, you may have to go back to Parliament and tell them that, Mr. Speaker, we have found out that we are unable to do this, so we are asking Parliament to approve another 30 million for the Sagleme project. That would have brought you 230 million. If, for instance, you value that you needed 30 million to complete the project, maybe that's